Hi everyone, today is June 6, 2020, and this is a Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger, and this week I want to begin a little bit different than every other episode and talk about current events just for a few minutes. It's kind of hard for me to do this because I like staying on topic with Duel Links content. I don't think I really, talk about anything else. I did talk about, coronavirus a little bit. As that was a major disruption in life. But I was inspired to do this to talk about current events because of the Blackout Tuesday that just happened. And, while I get the intent of Blackout Tuesday, it probably had good intentions. I feel it was a PR stunt in a way, sort of, and people were just... It's very easy to put up a new profile picture of a black square or circle, and it's not even like Lance Armstrong's thing, Live Strong, where people were buying bracelets to support cancer research. So it's even less than that, and I felt people were just doing it for the sake of PR. So I felt that I needed to use whatever platform I have to actually make a difference. And this is not a huge podcast at all. I mean, I've been podcasting for 3 years, and I would like a bigger audience, but you take what you get. So I have a few hundred of you, hundreds of people who listen. I will try to make a difference with. And just a little bit of background: I'm someone who's not political. I get disgusted by politics on both sides. Consider myself a moderate. I have beliefs from both sides, and anyone who is too far left, too far right, I feel they're a bit crazy and brainwashed. That's just how I feel. And these words also come from someone who's never been black or white. I'm Asian. I'm American. Grew up in Jersey City, so I don't know, what it's like to be black or white. It's a wild card, I guess. It's different. You're somewhere in the middle. You deal with your own challenges. Coronavirus. My next door neighbor thought I have coronavirus. So that's a different challenge that neither blacks nor whites faced, but it's not about me. So, just to speak about current events, George Floyd's death at the hands of the police. The video really exemplifies institutional racism and police brutality, and that's the case of police brutality and many forms of institutional racism. And any person who sees the video can see how wrong that was, how horrible that was. And I'm not a person who is against capital punishment per se. Like, I feel if there's evidence against someone who has committed atrocities, they should pay for it. But clearly in this situation with George Floyd, the punishment just didn't fit the crime. The police officer just took the situation in his own hands because of racism and killed the guy. So clearly there's something wrong there. And everyone in the world saw it, and that's what all the protests and outrage it's all about. It's all justified. And it exemplifies trust issues with the police. I've never been black, so I can't speak to how it feels to be around police. I must say that I lived in Baltimore for quite some time, and Baltimore is predominantly a black city. And I was also there in 2015 when Freddie Gray was killed by the police. And I've also, I've done public health work all over Baltimore, and I've met a lot of families, low-income families. I've been in their homes. I've helped them, and there's a lot of just casual talk of police, of mistrust of the police, and all that, just from living in Baltimore, you get a sense of that. And I've never felt unsafe around police. Um, like in the this is different, but in the airport, I wasn't even like searched. But on the streets, I would approach police, ask them certain things, not fear anything at all, and that's something I don't get. Like I don't get that. I don't get that reaction of being unsafe around police. So there's that huge trust issue that is exemplified here. All the protests still going around the world in the past week as well. I hope they do make a difference in causing real change. It's kind of like if these folks died and these folks protesting didn't make a difference. What's it all for, right? So I hope it makes a difference. I do say that I don't condone the violence and looting that comes with it. And there's few reasons for that. One being, I feel it has the opposite effect of getting buy-in. A lot of people are thinking things over, and you need buy-in from that community to buy-in from the other side to say that this is wrong, we need change. And when all people see is looting, violence, whatever, they get turned off by it. And so I feel like that has the opposite effect there. Not only that, with coronavirus going on, a lot of small businesses that have been destroyed, they can't keep the costs up. And, they needed to open up again. Big stores, big chains, it's nothing for them. Whatever, was lost, it's nothing for them, but small businesses may never come back. And that's what I wanted to say about that. And also in Baltimore, when some of the riots were happening there, a lot of buildings that were burnt down or whatever, they're still like that. Like they can't come back. So living in New York, like all those stores that were damaged in Manhattan, they're coming back, I'm pretty sure. But in economically distressed areas, it's not as easy for property to be there. So some areas may become deserts. I don't know. But hopefully there is some actionable change. Like what happened, and hopefully it wasn't for nothing. Like I hope that something actually does come to fruition from this. Actionable change in policing tactics, use of force, all that stuff has to be. There's smarter people than me who have better ideas than me, and I hope they come together and also change way policing is worked, and also things like building trust around community and police relationships, that has to be discussed. More open discussion with the community and things like that. And I just hope that this is something that's not repeated again. I really do hope that everything the world has learned does come to change. That's all I have to say. All right, let's get to Duel Links again. This week we're going to start off with Esports. The week in the Duel world, I'll discuss later on in this KC Grand Tournament discussion, since I did get through Stage 1, talking about what adjustments I made to my deck. But let's start with some of the tournaments now. I think today's Saturday, so the Duel Links Meta MCS is actually happening today. So this is probably the final one before the KC Grand Tournament preliminary round finishes. The first tournament is Duel Links Meta Weekly 127. Here it is. First place, you got wrecked. Destiny, draw, element, saber, invoked. No water version, so that means Malo is there as the fire attribute. We often see some other monster, which I mean some other non-element saber monster stand in as the fire attribute. Here Malo's in the deck, so that means Coxidus is gone. No water type needed. Otherwise, very 3 Alistair has become mandatory. 3 Alistair, 3 Malehu pretty much is the thing to do. I can't really build this deck because I only have 2 Alistairs, so it's tough for me. But these decks, they run the best trap cards, and the one that's kind of coming in as the meta call is Typhoon. We see a lot of Necro Valleys in the game, some continuous cards like Fiendish Chain. I don't know if you noticed this, but if you sort popular cards, Fiendish Chain is like the 3rd most popular trap card, which means Konami is killing it with sales with the selection box. Since it's still a selection box card after all this time, they're really milking Fiendish Chain. But yeah, Typhoon is I tried it out a little bit, and it's a card you could play during your opponent's turn. So it's like a surprise card. Kind of like Chaos Hunter, it could come during your opponent's turn, even if you didn't make your first turn yet. They could be turn 1 player. They put down all these trap cards, and then they play a face-up spell or trap, and then you could just knock it out with Typhoons. That's what's good about that card. Second place, MJ, the winner. Harpy's Hunting Ground, Black Wings. A little different look, and the noticeable thing is you don't see a trap card. Most Blackwing decks you face on the ladder, they do have that hand trap Blackbird close. This just doesn't have it. 3 Simoon, 2 Bora, 2 Zephyros, 3 Gale, 3 Chris, 1 Orochi, just 1 level 1 tuner, 3 Black Whirlwinds, and 3 Cosmic Cyclones. And Star Eater. Star Eater's a level 11 synchro play from the extra deck. I have seen it possibly also in Black Wings, just like this one, and it just beat me because you can't negate it with Void Trap Hole. That's what it plays around. Any of those Trap Hole cards it plays around. Top 4, Biscaya BL, Mythic Depths, Cristrons. This is a light version of the water type. Sometimes you see them run like a lot of Gen X controllers, a lot of Gen X Unduns. This one runs fewer of those. We still don't see Gizmek Yatta in this deck, but we, there are 3 level 5s here, but no heavy starter build here. And top 4, Lorenzo Roma, Endless Trap Hell, Control, Gladiator, Beasts. This is a deck I posted online, and I said it was disgusting, because it is. Gladiator Beasts are typically an aggro deck with Vespasius. That's the new dinosaur card that they have, but this does not run the dinosaur. 1 Darius, 3 Equesti, 3 Laquari, 3 Bestiari, and 1 Retiari. And then it's just a lot of control. 3 Forbidden Lance, 3 Fiendish Chain, 3 Floodgates, 2 Bad Aims, 3 Gladiator Beast Charge, 3 War Chariots, and 2 Treacherous Trap Holes. Move on to the next tournament called the Potato Cup number 1. Where we are. First place, Evil Potato. I'm not sure if this was staged. Harpy's Hunting Ground, Black Wings. More of a conventional look for Black Wings, and also a pure Black Wing Synchro deck. There's no outside Synchro monster in the extra deck. No Necro Valley, anything like that. It's just the Black Wing deck. 3 Blackbird closes. As I mentioned, this is something you do see more often in the ladder. They activate those hand traps. Second place, Erlin JF, Sealed Tombs Dark Magician. Sealed Tombs is coming back. We're starting to see it splashed again with No Mortal Can Resist being nerfed harder than Sealed Tombs. It is coming back. Kind of like Sealed Tombs or Necro Valley. What do you pick? And this is otherwise a very typical Dark Magician deck. You've seen it. Probably see it most on the ladder. Most common deck you'll face on the ladder. I'm kind of sick of it. Third place, Minato, Sealed Tombs Masked Hero. Again, it's getting splashed into another deck. No favorite heroes. Neos things going on. Just a straight Masked Hero deck with Plasma. And finally, the Pharaoh's Cash Tournament number 75. First place, Grucius Sealed Tombs Gookie. This is a spicy deck list. Very swarmy and aggressive deck. You got your good Gookie monsters. There's only 3 of them. There's Suprex, Rescorpio, and the best one probably Twist Cobra. This also runs two copies of Gizmek Yatta, which is that machine card, one of the URs from the last set. And You basically tribute a monster, and it helps you normal summon another monster. And this helps your Gookie monsters have abilities, because if they're sent from the field to the graveyard, you could trigger additional abilities. Suprex, you could tutor a card. They all let you tutor a card. But the Suprex itself, you could get a card from your hand as well. So this is a very rampy board. Rescorpio has 2,300. So that just comes onto the board for free. Just a lot of like medium-sized attackers. And there's several cards to clear the way. 2 Cosmic Cyclones, 2 Herald of the Abyss. These cards help you use your Sealed Tombs, of course. 2 Ballista Squads, 2 Econ, 2 Sphere Kuriboh. Very nice deck list. And this shows that we may have judged the last mini box too harshly. And this deck just uses cards straight from that mini box. Of course, you have to buy 3 buy-throughs of that mini box to build this deck. So it's a little pricey in that regard. Second place, Drop, Shadow Game, Stallburn, Cancer, whatever you want to call it. The only notable thing about this deck is it runs 3 copies of Spiritual Beast, Tamer, Winda. And that's just to help you float through your deck and thin out the deck, frankly, to get the cards you want. So all the other cards in this deck, 2 Lava Golems, 2 Amazona Swordswomen, that's the burn component of the deck, 2 Fortress Warriors, 2 Necro Valley, 3 Fiendish Chain, 2 Floodgate, 2 Void Trap Hole, 3 Wall of D. So yeah, there's equal components of burn and stall. A lot of those cards just keep monsters on the board for your Lava Golems. Lava Golem helps play around a lot of cards that can't be targeted or whatever. You could still target them to be summoned for Lava Golem. So it helps them get around those things. Even the deck I play with Archfiend's Call, which is an untargetable card, it's not going to work. So, Coxidus, things like that. Lava Golem plays around all of those. Up 4, Warriors of the Wind, Destiny, Draw Element, Saber, Invoked. So, it runs Chaos Hunter. We occasionally see Lancia being splashed into decks. Chaos Hunter, I would say, is better than Lancia, but that's just a personal preference and not having Lancia. Lava Golem is the fire attribute here. As I mentioned before, Lava Golem helps play around certain cards that can't be played around. In top 4, Zaga, Level, Og, Shiranui. Nothing really notable here. I'll just read out the deck list. 2 Lancia, 1 Kuriboh, 3 Solitaires, 3 Squires, 2 Spectral Swords, 2 Forbidden Lance, 2 Ballista Squad, 1 Divine Wrath, 2 Fiendish Chain, 1 Needle Sealing, 1 Raigeki Break. Tier list. We have the tier list itself from Duel Links meta hasn't really changed. We do have some things in the up-and-coming list. Tier 1, we have Crystron's Clear Cut number 1. I'm not sure if they've utilized the Gizmic Yatta yet, but we haven't seen it in the top 4 of these tournaments, maybe in the MCS today. Tier 2, Black Wings, Dark Magician, Element Saber, Masked Hero, Shiranui, no changes there. Tier 3, we have Cyber Dragons and Ritual Beasts. Again, no changes there. High potential, we got Gookie and Mayakashi. This is kind of the tournament where they could rise and fall based on how well they do in the tournament. And again, like I said, it shows that we may have judged the box too quickly, and these cards may be better than they seemed. And Blue Eyes have been taken off the tier list. You still see Blue Eyes a ton on the ladder, but this is all about tournament consideration, and they are seeing fewer Blue Eyes being good in tournaments. So let's talk about KC Grand Tournament Stage 1. Duel Links Meta has a website where they have a bunch of decks. It wasn't updated. It was updated for the first 2 days, so all these decks are from the first 2 days. Whole variety of decks here. Let's see. We got a lot of Invoked Magician Girl decks. Invoked Dinosaur, Gookie, another Gookie, Invoked Element Saber, Dark Magician, Crystron's, Chaos Lightsworn, Shiranui. This one's invoked with Volcanic Shell. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so this website, shows you all the stuff that you could do it with. deck that I play, Synchro Toolbox, they're the ones that are on the website. They have the give and take version with Ra. So it's a package you could run with Neos if you have it, because you want Ra's Disciple in the graveyard for give and take, and then they can't activate any effects, and that's pretty much GG for them. Magnet Warriors, whole bunch of stuff. Let's talk about my run in Stage 1. I got it on midnight on Friday, so it took me like 4 days to get to Stage 1 through. And, the deck list I used, it's the same deck I used to get King of Games, but I tinkered with the deck so much because I got stuck. So this is Akiza's Synchro Toolbox deck. And what that means is you're playing What Grows in the Graveyard with Dark Verger in the graveyard to start the game. And you use 2 cards to take out Dark Verger. There is Angel Trumpeter, a level 4, and Junk Synchron, a level 3. So that basically allows your extra deck to be nothing but level 5 and level 6 Synchro Monsters. Now you might be thinking these cards are less powerful. We all know that 7 is probably the best slot. And in terms of attack power, these cards are understated compared to other Synchro Monsters, but the whole deck builds around boosting them, so you get around the lower attack and defense. Well, the defense still stays low, but whatever. So the core of the deck, you got 3 Angel Trumpeters. Trumpeter, I've been saying it wrong the whole time. Plant, normal monster, a whole spiel about that. It's the core of the deck. 2 Junk Synchrons and 2 Painful Decision. So you got 7 cards that begin the game. You would ideally want these cards in your opening hand so you could get your synchro play on. Painful Decision helps you draw into Angel Trumpeter, and then you have an extra one that you could just toss for a cost later. The other monster I have is Chaos Hunter. This is to prevent banish plays and its special summons onto the board. Other cards in the deck, 3 copies of Battle Tuned. This helps you boost your monsters by quite a bit. You banish the card in the graveyard. They gain 1900 or 1300, depends on Junk Synchron or Angel Trumpeter. And let's see. 2 copies of Forbidden Lance. This helps you get around Disruption, typically. So when you play your Angel Trumpeter or Junk Synchron, they might try to hit it with Floodgate, and then you use your Forbidden Lance. Or you could use Forbidden Lance to disrupt a fusion play, a favorite hero play, something like that, a mask change. Or you could use it to weaken your opponents. There's so many uses for Forbidden Lance. 2 Cosmic Cyclones, 1 Night Beam, 2 World Legacy Clash, and 2 Void Trap Hole. So, beginning the tournament, I pretty much played the same deck I got King of Games with, and it looked a little different than this final version. First off, I tried, I got to level DLV 23, and I got stuck. This may have been earlier, like 21, and I cut a Void Trap Hole for a Pulling the Rug. Void Trap Hole is a great card, but there are often times where it just doesn't activate. Not oftentimes, there are sometimes, so I found that 3 may have been too many copies of the card. So then I cut, but then I found Pulling the Rug. Pulling the Rug did win me a game against someone who Destiny drawed into Alistair, and then I played Pulling the Rug, and Alistair was done, and that was the game. But that was the only time it ever worked, so then I pulled Pulling the Rug for Wall of D. I saw a lot of heavy boards going on. I felt Wall of D would help. But when I put Wall of D in my deck, I never activated it once, so then I figured, let's get rid of Wall of D. So next up, I was facing a lot of hero decks with favorite hero and field spells. So I thought about Typhoon. Typhoon was a card I always thought was cool. I thought it was cool how it just comes out of the hand. So at the same time, I noticed a lot of people running 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. I know that everyone does have 3 copies, but it might be that losing life points doesn't have the benefit it did. I mean, we're seeing a lot of Sealed Tomb stuff going on now, but this is kind of before that, and I figure let's just use the same type of card. So I cut Wall of D and Cosmic Cyclone for 2 Typhoons. So we have 2 Typhoons and 2 Cosmic Cyclones as back row or spell or trap removal. Typhoon was decent as a hand play. I must admit that I knocked stuff out of the deck. I knocked stuff out when they played at turn 1, so that was pretty cool. But then I figured that having 4 like spell or trap removal was a bit excessive. So I cut both Typhoons for a Night Beam and a Treacherous Trap Hole. I just wanted more a limited 2 card for more power, I guess, and Night Beam seemed to be Cosmic Cyclone without the cost. So I figured I'd get around not having 3 back rows and not paying 1,000. And Night Beam became good enough to stick around to the final version. And in a sense, it's probably the best replacement for Cosmic Cyclone. If you feel like losing the life points again, put Cosmic Cyclone in, but Night Beam's not a bad card at all. And then Treacherous didn't really work out for me either. It never hit while being there. So the final change I made, I also felt that Chaos Hunter was a bit much at 2. So I cut a Chaos Hunter and I cut Treacherous Trap Hole for 2 World Legacy Clash. And this let me put in my limited 2 card in. And World Legacy Clash is a card that there's a little anti-synergy. Let's say you're a monster, your synchro play is boosted up with your battle tuned, and you could use World Legacy Clash on them, but then it erases the gain. But I felt that I was facing a lot of boards with big monsters. They were getting over my synchro plays. Sometimes you make a synchro play in this deck, and then you have no battle tuned, and you're kind of screwed. You're left with like a 2,500 on the board, and then they just hit over it. So I thought World Legacy Clash was the best way to get around not having battle tuned. Yeah, it's basically the same thing, but the opposite effect. And you can negate an attack, you could weaken their board. Weakening their board seems to be, like, lowering attack and defense seems to be quite a strong play now, so I felt it was good. I'm not sold as it being like sticking into the deck in stage 2, but it's a play that it works for now. Like it's good enough for now. Yeah, that's the evolution of my deck. I have to say that stage 1 of the KC Grand Tournament was easier than ranked duels right now in Platinum. I mean in Legend. I've been trying to get to Legend 2, and I don't think I'm there yet. I'm closed the game. But I think I was still Legend 1. I may have hit the promotion match yesterday, but I think I lost, so right now, it's definitely a thing to do to finish the first stage so you can max out your rewards at least. Even if you don't finish by Thursday, it's fine. As long as you do it to get the rewards, that's all you could, ask for. Other stuff going on this week. There's not a lot going on at all, but there are 3 new cards released this week, so it's worth talking about. Ranked Duels update. We have a new UR card and SR card added to the pool, and it seemed to be themed around zero attack. Both of these cards are not even cards yet. They're not OCG or TCG cards. They're both from GX Tag Force 3 or featured in the anime. First, this is a card added to the UR pool called Pride Shout. If a monster you control with 0 attack receives a direct attack, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the defense of the attacking monster at the end of the damage step. This card's notable for being like an anime card where Chaz directly attacked with Ojama Yellow on the guy called Aster. And Ojama Yellow has no attack, but then he used Pride Shout and it hit for 1,000 defense. This is basically you swing with your 0 attacker, and then you inflict the defense as damage. Is it effect damage? What is it? Doesn't really say what type of damage it is. I think it's effect damage, but it's not uncommon for this to happen because you do face a lot of Lunalights, and Lunalight Crimson turns your monster into 0 attack. And let's say it somehow survives, and then you could have a monster of 0 attack. World Legacy Clash sometimes turns your monsters to 0 attack. But anyways, Pride Shout isn't for, in case they hit you with Crimson Fox or World Legacy Clash. It's a build around card for monsters with 0 attack. The most useful thing is probably like Ojama King, Labyrinth Wall from your Paradox Brothers skill, something like that. The fact that this could be effect damage makes me wonder if this could be useful for farming. Like, let's say you keep some kind of really big 0 attack, like a Labyrinth Wall on the board. You stall out your opponent, and then you hit them with a Union attack, and then this. Because a Union attack should work if they have 0, and then it's all effect damage, right? So I don't know. But this is not a card that you play really. Maybe there's some cool build around with 0 attack, but I think it's more of a farming card. Yeah. The next card is more useful, a little marginally more useful. 0 Sprite. This is the SR card. There's a beast on it, but it's not a beast card at all. Trap card. Equip this card to a monster on the field. The equipped monster original attack becomes 0, but it can attack twice during the same battle phase. So it's a continuous trap that acts as an equip, right? So it's a slower equip style, and that's not great. Typically, you want to just equip it, but this one you have to set in advance, and then you play the monster, and then you equip it. So this is only useful for monsters that have a question mark in their attack, and that's like a situational multiplier. There's 2 kind of meta cards that have this. Fortune Lady Avery has question mark. She typically starts off as 2800, so it's 7 times 4. Yeah, she's times 400. And then there's Gren Maju the Aiza. Gren Maju the Aiza is a core card in Stromberg decks. Typically, I think Gren Maju the Aiza is also 400 multiplier because they banish 10, it becomes a 4000. So that makes sense. So Fortune Lady decks are tight 20 card decks. I've played it enough. There's very limited room for tech cards in Fortune Ladies. They draw very well. There's no room for a card like 0 Sprite just to help Fortune Lady every swing twice. Now, Stromberg decks are they're messier. They have a core, but they can be a little messy. They're big since they mill 10 cards a turn, so they have to be big. Usually somewhere between 25 and 30 cards. I think they still have a defined goal, though. Like, Gren Maju the Aiza is not the reason you play a deck. They have those Fairy Tale Princess direct attackers. They have Lava Golems. They have Psychic Wheel Dealers. There's a lot going on other than Gren Maju the Aiza, and it's not the main component. It's just a piece of it. So I don't think 0 Sprite makes into that deck either. But, you never know. There could be some other question mark card that I'm not seeing right now. But those 2 are the best ones I could think of that see meta play. There's also Mission Circuit going on, and there's 1 new card from Mission Circuit. And this new card is probably the most exciting card to come from this week. It's Changing Destiny. It's a trap card. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, target the attacking monster, negate the attack, and if you do, change it to defense, and it can't change its battle position while it's face up on the field. Then your opponent chooses 1 effect. So they either gain life points equal to half of the target's attack, or they can make you take damage equal to half the target's attack. Interesting card. We only get 1 copy of this. This is like a poor man's Fiendish Chain with an emphasis on them switching to defense and then an effect going off. rather than shutting down their effects and not attacking. Obviously, you want them to have no abilities and not attack. Um, yeah, this is a stall card. It's stall, but then there's like an anti-burn counter. Like a burn counter, I meant. In that your opponent can gain life points back, which defeats the purpose of burn. But it does keep a monster on the board. If your opponent is playing against you, they know to gain life points if they're playing a burn deck, right? So, yeah. Another card for control decks, really. Some control decks just throw in the best trap cards they have. You see Element Saber decks do that all the time. And even some of the other decks, they're control based. They could fit a card like this in. Again, there's so many good trap cards. Like if you have 3 copies of Phoenix Chain, you don't really need a card like Changing Destiny. But I see it sneaking in. Just because, some decks just need their best trap cards. This just could be one of them. Yeah, the life point thing could cost you the game sometimes if it's a big monster. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see this card being mainstream, but it could sneak in somewhere. We get our 3rd copy of Ojama Country, field spell. Once per turn, send an Ojama from your hand to the graveyard. Special summon an Ojama monster from your graveyard. When you control a face-up Ojama monster, switch the attack and defense of all monsters on the field. This was the original Ojama card when Chaz first came up. You would try to get Knight and King out so they could be beaters. You could lock down their board. Of course, people have cheesed out Ojamas into the life cost 0 deck, but with that being nerfed, this adds consistency for playing Ojamas the fair way. Still, it's not going to be a meta card. It might be something you see for fun sometimes or something in the lower ranks, but yeah, that's all it is. And the 3rd copy of Gravekeeper's Visionary. Level 8, 2000, 1800. You contribute this by attributing just 1 Gravekeeper's monster. Gains 200 attack for each Gravekeeper in your graveyard. When this face-up card will be destroyed, you can discard a Gravekeeper instead. This card used to be like OP, like you really wanted this card for the archetype. But Gravekeepers never were a thing back then. And unfortunately, this card is just so obsolete right now for Gravekeepers. They just splash in Quintet Magician now. They try to populate their graveyard, and then they play the bomb that is Quintet Magician. A lot more attack, blows up the board. Really no use for Gravekeeper's Visionary anymore. Alright. It's been a light week. Really it. Upcoming news. KC Grand Tournament continues on to June 15th. Remember, meta play is not for everyone, I get that, but when you're missing out on gems, it makes me feel bad when I'm missing out on gems. So, do your damnedest to get through stage 1. It really does benefit everyone, since you're on the squeeze for gems. Duel Quest mid-June, Duels Chronicles GX, a new Yubel card called Untitled the Chaos Phantom, which I looked it up. It's the contact fusion of all of the legendary monsters, the Dragon Lords in GX, and that's one of those cards. It gains 10,000 attack, like it's something crazy, but impossible to do. DSOD Joey comes to the gate in mid-June. Late June, Professional Aster, new cards Apparition and D Counter. Late June, new DSOD Legendary Duelist. I think it's Taya. Yeah, what does everyone think? I think it's Taya. A pretty big deal. And mid-June, 5Ds level cap to 40. This might happen right after the tournament. So tournament finishes on the 15th, and we get this level cap increase because they don't really want to release new cards in the middle of the the tournament run when everyone's trying to fight for top 100. Right? That'd be so stupid if they do that. But I expect this to happen on Tuesday, the 16th, or something, or after the tournament's done on the 15th, maybe. I don't know. That's it for the podcast. Thanks for listening. Listen and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Just search the Duel Assessment and you'll find me. Check out the podcast and more at the website, theduelassessment.wordpress.com. Email me with anything at theduelassessment@gmail.com. Or you can find me on Twitter, duel_assessment, my own account at Green Rangers CCG. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.